if you teach martial arts, or if you've been in a setting, group classes setting where new people come in all the time, you've seen new people and you've heard the questions that people ask that kind of sometimes make you scratch your head, and you forget a little bit that like if you've been around for a while, you know things that aren't necessarily common knowledge. They might be common knowledge within the martial arts community, but they're not really common knowledge to the uninitiated. But a recent acquaintance of mine brought me down to another level of not realizing how vast the chasm is between non-martial artists and martial artists are. He came up to me, and since we've been acquainted, he's a football guy, and he was asking me if I like football, and I don't. Sorry, I don't like watching men play with their balls. So, I was telling him I'm into martial arts, and even though I don't go out of my way to regularly watch the fights because, well, the fact is there's not always a lot of payoff. I don't want to spend the money in home, and I often don't want to leave my home, so I'll just catch the highlights here and there, or if there's a big fight, then I'll make an effort to go out or something. But since then, he has started watching some highlights and stuff on YouTube. Again, he's not going out of his way because his thing's football, but on the other side of it, he's just wanting to have something to talk about. He's been watching stuff, and he was watching some Ronda Rousey clips, and he goes, "Is there any way to escape an armbar? Like, it doesn't look like you could ever escape one." And I'm like, oh boy, I don't think I've had that thought in my head since I was a child. But this is the chasm between being initiated into the martial arts and not. And even a casual observer, there's a lot of people that watch combat sports who aren't martial artists, who've never trained a day in their life. Well, you could even say the same of action flicks and pro wrestling and stuff, even though that stuff is further from reality. The fact is there's a lot of people that engage in the entertainment side of it, but don't engage in the training side of it. But even so, they've probably come across the idea that somebody can escape one of those moves. So somebody who doesn't engage in even watching it as entertainment sees an armbar happen and an immediate tap out, i.e. the Ronda Rousey special, it looks daunting to him. It looks like inescapable and indefensible. And it's like, well, it brings back home the idea that people don't understand that there's no such thing as an unbeatable technique. Some people still believe martial arts is magic, and that training will somehow make you invincible, and it's just not true. And it surprises me a little bit. And this isn't to rag on people who are uninitiated. Those are the people that we want to bring in. I would rather have a bunch of casuals that know a little bit of something than people who are so completely taken aback by it that they just have no idea and just get lost and trounced, when something does happen. But I was just so taken aback by this idea of is there any escape to an armbar? And I was like, oh yeah, we've got several. Depends on timing and all that. And it's like, yeah, even in black belt competition, right? In jiu-jitsu, armbars are pretty much the number one submission. Rear naked choke is in MMA, but armbars actually take the cake in submission grappling. But the fact is that, armbars are very, very, very good submissions, especially if you understand the full tilt versions where you can actually snap something, which will be more useful to you outside of the ring. But the fact is that it's easy to forget that people don't know things. And I tell you what, existing on martial arts forums for as long as I have, people act like they know everything. And people have discussions on things that sound fairly commonplace to me. But that level of commonplace is actually well above the level of the average person walking around in the street. And it really comes back to the idea that like martial arts really isn't cool. And it's kind of never been like that cool. I mean, you know, it goes in pockets here and there, but for the most part, most people don't want to go train. Most people want to be entertained. And, you know, martial arts is expensive. Look, we can change that. Martial arts is expensive. You know, martial arts takes up time. Martial arts is uncomfortable, unfortunately. You know, but it's those things that put up this barrier of entry for the average person that's not necessarily looking to be uncomfortable and spending a lot of money. You know, but anyway, I just wanted to bring it up because it was such a left field comment that I don't think anybody has come up to me asking about like unbeatable techniques in a long time, and I certainly haven't thought about unbeatable techniques in a couple of decades. Like absolutely anything that can be made can be unmade. That is the nature of the reality that we live in. Like if you can get into it from a position, you can get out of it. You know, one of the things that my Sifu used to get this question from time to time: how do you defend against this? How do you defend against that? And at one point she stopped and she said, look, you know, there's no defense against a successful technique. I mean, the criteria for it being successful is that it was completed within the margin of error for it to have its intended effect. So like you can't defend against a successful technique, but you can stop a technique at varying points of its entry towards completion. Any time before a technique has completed, there's an opportunity for it to be, you know, taken off the rails to push it outside of its margins of efficacy. And like that's cool and that's reassuring. It also means though that we have to bust that myth that martial arts are going to make you some undefeatable warrior, because they just aren't. They can't do that. But yeah, man. There are still people out there that have no idea what they're looking at, and instead of belittling them and jeering at people for acting like they don't know what they're doing, like nobody can know everything. So be kind and you know, smile and look. If it strikes you as funny, chuckle a little bit. That's fine, right? Be light about it, but don't belittle the person. You know, just like try to explain in ways that they can understand, not in ways that are going to be like, you know, a PhD dissertation. You know, try to explain in simple ways that, you know, yeah, techniques can be beaten. You know, it's a matter of just kind of like math and anatomy, and you know, it's fairly simple stuff. It's just a lot of simple stuff stacked on top of each other, so it gets kind of complicated, but all the parts are simple. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling, but it was just an interesting experience. I wanted to share that with you guys. I'll talk to you later. Good journey. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share. Check us out on our other socials, and please head over to blacksunboxing.com to get a little more info, including how to contact us. Furthermore, if you are in the Phoenix area, please feel free to stop in, say hi, join in for a class, whatever. Also, if you ever see us cite sources or just for additional content, please check out our Substack. That is where we put all of the sources we use in our videos and is a major part of this. Plus, it serves as a membership platform for long distance learning and for people who would like to support us but aren't local. We would greatly appreciate it if you signed up. Even just the free membership helps us out a lot. All right, I will see you guys in the next video. Good journey.